Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt the chill run through you, as if something about them wasn't quite right, but you couldn't explain why? That uneasiness you feel is not your imagination. It is your inner wisdom warning you that beneath the surface, not everyone carries good intentions. The truth is, evil rarely shows up with horns and fire. It comes disguised as normal people, wrapped in charm and hidden behind smiles that look safe. That is why so many fall victim without ever realizing it until it's too late. Evil doesn't always strike loudly, it works quietly, blending into the fabric of your everyday life. It hides in the friend who seems supportive but secretly undermines you. It hides in the partner who says they love you but chips away at your self-worth piece by piece. It hides in the colleague who laughs with you in public but plots against you in private. This is the nature of darkness. It cloaks itself in familiarity so you let down your guard. Because you want to see the best in people, because you are wired to trust and to connect, you might silence the voice inside telling you something is wrong. You convince yourself you're overthinking, that maybe you're being too harsh, that maybe this person didn't mean harm. But here lies the danger. When you ignore the warnings, you give power to those who thrive in deception. Evil feeds on your doubt, your kindness, your silence. So the question is not whether evil exists, it does. The question is whether you will train yourself to recognize it before it has the chance to poison your peace, your confidence, and your future. Because once you see clearly, once you know the signs, you cannot be controlled in the same way again. You take back power that was never meant to be surrendered. This matters more than you realize. Every moment you allow someone's hidden cruelty to stay in your life, it slowly reshapes how you see yourself. It makes you question your worth, your instincts, even your sanity. That's how darkness spreads, not by force, but by convincing you to dim your own light. But when you refuse to look away, when you dare to uncover the truth, you build an armor around your spirit. You protect your energy, your heart, and your future. You deserve relationships that uplift you, not ones that drain the life out of you. You deserve to stand in rooms where your presence is valued, not exploited. You deserve to walk through life free of manipulation, intimidation, and deceit. And that freedom begins with awareness. It begins with courage. It begins with your choice to see what others pretend not to see. Stay with this message, because understanding the signs of an evil person will not just change the way you look at others, it will change the way you value yourself. It will remind you that you are not weak for having been deceived. You are strong for choosing to open your eyes. And once you know how to spot the darkness, no one can ever again make you question the truth that belongs to you. This is how you reclaim power. This is how you rise. And this is why you must keep listening. Because what you learn next may save you from years of pain and lead you into a future filled with strength, clarity, and unshakable confidence. If evil can hide so easily, why do so many good people allow it to stay in their lives? The answer is simple yet deeply human. We want to believe in goodness even when it is not there. We are taught from the very beginning to give people the benefit of the doubt, to forgive quickly, to assume the best. Our hearts are wired for connection, for trust, for belonging. And while this makes us capable of love and unity, it also makes us vulnerable to those who weaponize that very hope against us. Think about how often you silence your own discomfort because you don't want to seem unkind. How often you dismiss your instincts because you fear being judged as cold or unforgiving. This is not weakness, it is proof that you have a heart that values harmony. But the truth is, your kindness can become the very door evil walks through if it is not paired with wisdom. What you call compassion, they call opportunity. What you see as loyalty, they see as leverage. What you hope is forgiveness, they use as permission. Psychologists call this the optimism bias, the tendency to assume things will turn out well, to believe people are better than they are, and to hope that with enough patience things will change. And while this bias protects us from despair, it also blinds us to danger. It makes us ignore the cracks in someone's behavior because facing the truth feels too painful. It keeps us clinging to potential instead of reality. It convinces us that if we just love harder, sacrifice more, or wait longer, the darkness will disappear. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. Evil does not disappear because of your love. It grows stronger when it knows you will not walk away. The longer you explain away someone's harmful actions, the deeper you sink into self-doubt. You start to believe maybe you're the problem, maybe you're overreacting, maybe your standards are too high. This is how silence becomes a prison. The more you excuse, the more you lose touch with your own worth. And this is exactly what those with destructive intentions want, to strip away your certainty so they can control the story, your choices, and eventually your life. But you are not helpless in this. The very moment you choose to see clearly, you break the chain. Awareness is the first spark of freedom. By daring to admit what you've been avoiding, you reclaim the strength you thought was lost. You stop living in illusions and start living in truth. And truth, no matter how painful at first, is always the foundation of power. You must understand this deeply. Protecting yourself is not cruelty, it is clarity. Refusing to tolerate harmful behavior is not unkind, it is self-respect. Walking away from people who drain you is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you embrace this mindset, you no longer see boundaries as selfish, you see them as sacred. Do not let the fear of being misunderstood keep you trapped in a cycle of denial. The cost of staying blind is far greater than the discomfort of facing reality. You were not put on this earth to be broken, drained, or diminished. You were put here to rise, to grow, and to protect the light within you. The sooner you choose truth over illusion, the sooner you free yourself from the grip of those who thrive in shadows. And once you make that choice, you begin to see patterns you once ignored. You begin to recognize the subtle ways evil operates, the quiet tactics it uses to twist your mind and weaken your spirit. You become sharper, stronger, and more unshakable. And that strength is exactly what you will need as we uncover the first clear sign of how darkness reveals itself. One of the clearest marks of an evil person is their ability to twist reality until you no longer trust your own mind. They take the truth, bend it, and hand it back to you in a way that makes you question yourself. You remember what was said, but they insist you misheard. You recall what happened, but they swear it never did. They plant doubt so skillfully that you start wondering if your memory, your perception, even your sanity is slipping away. This is not confusion. It is deliberate manipulation. It is designed to weaken you from the inside out. This tactic is called gaslighting, and it is one of the most dangerous weapons in the hands of those who thrive on control. It is not about winning an argument or proving a point. It is about rewriting your reality so you become dependent on theirs. The more you question yourself, the more you lean on them for clarity. And the more you lean on them, the stronger their grip becomes. Evil knows that once it convinces you not to trust your own truth, it owns you. Think about the effect this has on your spirit. Every time your truth is denied, a piece of your confidence erodes. Every time your feelings are dismissed, your belief in your own worth shrinks. You start to silence yourself before they even get the chance to do it for you. You begin to live in constant hesitation, second-guessing every word, every choice, every step. This is not life. It is slow suffocation. But here's what you need to remember. The fact that you feel this inner conflict is proof that your instincts are alive. Deep down, you know when something is wrong. You know when you are being lied to, even if you cannot prove it. That unease in your chest, that tension in your gut is not weakness. It is your inner alarm system trying to protect you. The more you listen to it, the stronger it becomes. The more you honor it, the harder it is for anyone to twist your reality. You must reclaim the power of your truth. Your experiences are valid. Your emotions are real. Your perception matters. No amount of denial, argument, or manipulation can erase what you have lived. The moment you anchor yourself in this certainty, their control begins to crumble. Evil cannot survive in the face of someone who refuses to doubt themselves. It takes courage to stand firm when someone is trying to break your sense of reality. It takes strength to say, I know what I saw. I know what I felt. I know what is true. But every time you do, you build an inner shield that grows harder to penetrate. You stop being the victim of their story and reclaim your role as the author of your own. The ability to twist reality is one of the sharpest blades evil carries, but it only cuts deep when you surrender your trust in yourself. When you refuse to surrender, when you stand rooted in your own truth, you take that weapon from their hands, and once you do, you step into a new level of strength, a strength that no one can take away from you again. Because the truth is not fragile. The truth does not disappear when it is denied. It waits patiently for you to rise, to claim it, and to live by it. And when you do, The darkness that once confused you loses its power and you become unstoppable. When your reality is constantly twisted, the deepest wound is not just confusion. It is a collapse of trust in yourself. You begin to carry an invisible weight, one that presses down harder every time your truth is denied. At first, it feels like simple disagreement, but over time, it becomes something far more dangerous, a war against your own mind. You start asking yourself if you are too sensitive, if you are imagining things, if maybe you are the one at fault. This is the trap, the slow erosion of self-belief that leaves you open to further control. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the clash between what you know inside and what you are being told outside. The human brain hates conflict, so it tries to resolve it by bending. And when you bend long enough, you begin to break. Your brain chooses the version of reality that causes the least friction, even if it means silencing your inner voice. This is why victims of manipulation often stay longer than they should. They are not weak, they are human, fighting a psychological battle against a strategy designed to confuse. But confusion is not the end of your story. It can also be the beginning of awakening. Every time you feel that tension between what you sense and what you were told, it is a reminder that your inner compass is still alive. That discomfort is not proof of weakness. It is proof of strength. It is the whisper of your soul saying, do not lose yourself here. And the more you listen to that whisper, the louder it becomes. Rebuilding trust in yourself starts with simple but powerful decisions. Believe what you feel, even if someone else denies it. Hold on to your memory, even if someone tries to rewrite it. Stand by your perception, even if someone mocks it. These are not small acts, they are revolutionary steps toward reclaiming your mind. Because the moment you stop needing someone else's approval of your truth, you set yourself free from their control. It will not always feel easy. The voices of manipulation echo long after they are gone, whispering doubt in your quiet moments. But here's what matters. Every time you affirm your truth, every time you refuse to abandon yourself, you weaken the chains that once held you. You rise a little taller, you breathe a little freer, you walk a little stronger. And eventually, those voices of doubt grow faint, replaced by the steady rhythm of self-trust. Remember this always. No one has the right to convince you that your reality does not exist. No one has the authority to erase your experiences. No one holds the power to define what you know in your heart to be true. That power belongs to you alone. And when you protect it, you become untouchable to those who seek to control you. The ones who twist reality thrive only when you doubt yourself. The antidote is not to fight endlessly with them. It is to stand unwavering in yourself. When you no longer allow their words to shake your certainty, you rob them of their greatest weapon. And in that moment, you transform from prey into power. This is how you rise above the fog of manipulation. This is how you reclaim your clarity. This is how you begin to step fully into the strength that was always within you. And once you awaken to that strength, you are ready to face the other tactics evil uses to tighten its grip without ever losing yourself again. When twisting your reality is no longer enough, the next weapon used against you is fear. Fear is the invisible chain that keeps people silent, obedient, and trapped. It doesn't always come in the form of loud threats or obvious danger. Often it appears in subtle ways, the cold silence that follows when you speak up, the disapproving look that makes you shrink inside, the unspoken warning that if you resist, you will pay a price. Fear works because it seeps into your nervous system, training you to associate truth with pain and compliance with safety. This is not accidental. It is calculated. Evil knows that if it can make you afraid, it can control your choices without lifting a finger. It doesn't need to force you. It only needs to condition you. Soon you start holding back your opinions. You stop expressing your needs. You silence your instincts, not because you agree, but because you are terrified of what might happen if you don't. And in that silence, your freedom slips away unnoticed. Fear is powerful because it taps into the oldest part of your brain, the survival instinct that screams for protection at any sign of threat. But what many forget is this: survival mode keeps you alive, but does not let you live. When fear dictates your life, you may remain standing, but you are no longer thriving. You are merely existing in the shadow of someone else's control. Yet fear is not invincible. It thrives in darkness, but it weakens in the light of awareness. The moment you call it out, the moment you see it for what it is, you begin to break its hold. Fear is loud in your mind, but fragile in reality. How many times have you dreaded a consequence that never came? How many times have you imagined disaster only to find the truth was far smaller than the monster you built inside? This is how fear deceives. It magnifies shadows until they look like giants. But once you step closer, you realize they were never as big as they seem. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act while fear is still present. Every time you take one small step despite your trembling, you weaken the grip fear has on you. Speak when you are afraid of silence. Say no when every muscle wants to give in. Walk away when staying feels safer. These moments are not small victories. They are life-changing declarations that you will not be owned by intimidation. You must remember that fear loses its power the moment you stop feeding it with silence. When you act despite it, fear cannot control you anymore. And when you stop being controlled, those who thrive on your fear lose the only tool they had to keep you small. That is why courage is so threatening to evil. It breaks the entire system of control in a single choice. There will always be moments when fear whispers in your ear, telling you that you cannot, that you will lose, that you will suffer. But fear is a liar. It shows up to test your resolve, not to define your limits. The strength you are searching for is not somewhere far away. It is already inside you, waiting for the moment you decide that fear will no longer dictate your story. When you rise in courage, you stop living under someone else's shadow and start walking in your own light. And once you have tasted that freedom, you will never allow fear to be your prison again. Fear may be their weapon, but your awareness is the beginning of its end. The moment you recognize how intimidation has shaped your choices, you open the door to freedom. Fear thrives in silence, in hesitation, in the places where you shrink instead of rise. But the truth is, every single act of courage, no matter how small, shatters its hold. The choice to speak one honest word, to set one boundary, to take one step forward despite the trembling inside you, these are not just actions, they are declarations of power. What you must understand is that fear is not proof you are weak. Fear is proof you are standing at the edge of growth. It is your mind signaling that you are moving into territory where freedom lives. Those who use fear want you to mistake it for a stop sign, but in reality, it is only a signal that you are about to claim something valuable. Each time you act in spite of it, you reclaim a piece of yourself that was buried under intimidation. The cycle breaks when you stop waiting for fear to disappear before moving forward. It will not vanish on its own. Waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until you feel fully ready is how fear keeps you paralyzed. Readiness does not come first. Courage does. And the remarkable thing is this: when you act with courage, readiness grows within you. When you face what once terrified you, the fear that held you captive loses its shape. It becomes smaller, weaker, powerless. Your power is built through repetition. Each time you confront fear, even in small ways, you train your mind to see yourself differently. You stop identifying as someone fragile and start embodying someone unshakable. You begin to prove to yourself over and over again that you are stronger than the lies fear whispers. This internal proof is the foundation of unbreakable confidence. No manipulator, no threat, no intimidation can compete with someone who has trained themselves to move even when afraid. And here's what happens when you rise beyond fear. Those who depended on it to control you lose their grip entirely. They realize they cannot silence you with their threats. They cannot trap you with their anger. They cannot bind you with their disapproval. The very tactics that once caged you become useless. And in that moment, their power dies, not because they changed, but because you did. Imagine the life that opens when fear no longer dictates your choices. Imagine the relationships you would choose, the boundaries you will honor, the opportunities you will pursue once fear is no longer your master. That vision is not a dream. It is your future if you decide to claim it. You have already carried fear long enough. You have already given it years of hesitation, silence, and self-doubt. Now is the moment to take it back. Now is the time to walk into the spaces that once scared you and prove to yourself that fear was never stronger than your spirit. Because the truth is this: fear can guide you, but it cannot define you. Fear can whisper, but it cannot rule you. You hold the final choice. And every time you choose courage over fear, you write a new story, one where you are no longer controlled, but free, no longer shrinking, but rising. And from that freedom, you will see clearly the deeper traits of those who have no empathy. those who reveal the cold absence of humanity that separates darkness from light. There is a deeper sign of darkness that reveals itself in the absence of something essential to being human: empathy. The ability to feel what another person feels, to recognize their pain, to honor their emotions is what binds us together. Without empathy, love becomes manipulation, kindness becomes performance, and connection becomes exploitation. When someone shows no regard for the suffering of others, when they can watch another person break and feel nothing, you are looking at the face of true danger. The lack of empathy is not always loud. Sometimes it is hidden behind shallow words of concern that carry no weight. Other times it is exposed in cruel laughter at another's pain, or in the cold indifference when you need comfort most. But the absence is always there, and it leaves you feeling unseen, unheard, and deeply alone. When you open your heart and are met with emptiness, the wound cuts deeper than words can explain. Because at our core, we crave connection. We are wired to need compassion. And when that need is denied repeatedly, we start questioning whether we are even worthy of love at all. This is how those without empathy gain power. They train you to believe your emotions are a burden. They make you feel guilty for needing comfort, ashamed for seeking support, or foolish for expecting kindness. Over time, you start shrinking yourself, convincing yourself to need less, to expect less, to want less. And in that shrinking, they win. Because a person who doubts their right to feel is far easier to control than one who stands tall in their humanity. But hear this clearly. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They are signals of your aliveness. They are proof that your heart is open, that your spirit is awake, that your humanity is intact. Empathy is not just a gift you offer others. It is a standard you have the right to receive in return. And anyone who consistently withholds it from you does not deserve access to your heart. Psychology teaches us that empathy is the foundation of healthy connection. Without it, trust cannot survive, love cannot grow, and safety cannot exist. To remain tied to someone who lacks it is to sacrifice the very things that make you whole. That is why awareness matters. When you notice the absence of empathy, you must believe what you see. Do not excuse it. Do not rationalize it. Do not tell yourself they will change. The absence of empathy is not a mistake. It is a choice. The courage you need is not in trying to fix what is missing in them. The courage is in honoring what is present in you. Your compassion, your kindness, your depth of feeling. These are treasures. They are not weaknesses to be mocked or tools to be used against you. They are strengths, and they deserve to be protected. You must decide that your heart will no longer be a playground for those who cannot value it. You must decide that empathy is not optional in your life. It is essential. And when you make that decision, you reclaim your right to relationships that nourish instead of drain, that uplift instead of diminish, that heal instead of harm. There is unimaginable power in protecting your heart, because once you stop tolerating the absence of empathy, you step into a world where your compassion is met with respect, where your love is received with gratitude, and where your spirit is safe to grow without fear of being crushed. And from that strength, you rise into a version of yourself that will never again be deceived by those who choose to live without a soul. When you finally recognize the emptiness in someone's heart, the next step is to protect your own. Because the truth is, empathy cannot be borrowed, and it cannot be forced. You cannot pour enough of yourself into someone to make them care if they have already chosen not to. And every attempt to do so only leaves you more depleted, more wounded, more distant from the truth of your own worth. Protecting your heart begins with boundaries, with the unshakable decision that your compassion will not be wasted on those who treat it like weakness. This is where many struggle. We are conditioned to believe that setting limits is selfish, that saying no makes us cold, that protecting our energy means we do not care enough. But this is a lie designed to keep you compliant. Boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are gates that decide who has the right to enter and how they are allowed to treat you. Without them, you become an open door to anyone who wishes to take, to drain, to exploit. With them, you reclaim your right to peace, safety, and dignity. The psychology of boundaries is simple yet powerful. People will treat you the way you allow them to. Every time you accept disrespect without speaking, you teach them it is safe to give you less. Every time you ignore your own discomfort to preserve harmony, you show them that your needs are negotiable while theirs are not. And the longer this continues, the more your silence convinces them that their behavior is justified. But the moment you set a boundary, everything shifts. You send the message that you value yourself, that your heart is not for misuse, and that your kindness cannot be weaponized against you. Protecting your heart does not mean hardening it. It does not mean becoming bitter, cynical, or closed. It means being wise enough to guard your compassion so that it flows only where it can be honored. It means saying yes from a place of freedom, not from guilt or fear. It means choosing relationships where love is reciprocal, respect is mutual, and empathy is alive. Every time you honor your boundaries, you build trust in yourself. You begin to see that you are not powerless, that you are not at the mercy of others, that you are the guardian of your own well-being. And as that trust grows, so does your confidence. You stop seeking approval from those who will never give it, and you start approving of yourself. This is the beginning of true strength, not the strength to endure endless mistreatment, but the strength to walk away from it. Remember, your heart is not fragile, but it is precious. And what is precious must be protected. If you continue to give it to those who cannot feel, you will drain yourself until there is nothing left to offer. But if you protect it, nurture it, and guard it with wisdom, it becomes a source of endless resilience, love, and power. The courage to protect your heart is not about shutting people out. It's about refusing to be broken by those who have no intention of building with you. And when you make this choice, you rise into a life where your kindness becomes a force of strength instead of a source of pain. You begin to live with clarity, no longer chained to those who exploit, but free to give your love where it is truly valued. And in this freedom, you are untouchable, because nothing is stronger than a heart that knows its worth and refuses to settle for less. When you begin to protect your heart, something remarkable happens. You start to see clearly the patterns you once ignored. You notice the way some people twist conversations to always center themselves. You catch the subtle digs disguised as jokes, the manipulations hidden under smiles, the guilt pressed into your chest whenever you try to stand up for yourself. What once felt confusing suddenly becomes obvious, and with that clarity comes a powerful shift. You can no longer be deceived in the same way again. Awareness is freedom, and once you see, you cannot unsee. But clarity alone is not enough. Knowing the truth without acting on it only keeps you trapped. You must combine awareness with courage, the courage to distance yourself from those who bring darkness into your life, even if that means stepping into uncomfortable change. This is where many hesitate, because leaving behind toxic connections often feels like losing stability. Yet what kind of stability is it really if it comes at the cost of your peace, your energy, and your soul? What you lose in false security, you gain in self-respect, and that trade will always lead you toward growth. The mind has a natural resistance to letting go, especially of relationships where you have invested time, love, and effort. Psychologists call this the sunk cost fallacy, the tendency to hold on to something harmful simply because you've already given so much to it. But the truth is, no amount of past investment can justify continued damage to your spirit. You are not obligated to keep paying for someone else's lack of empathy with your happiness. You are not required to sacrifice your light to keep their shadow comfortable. When you step away from those who cannot value you, you send a message to yourself that echoes louder than anything they could ever say. You matter. Your feelings matter. Your well-being matters. And in that moment, you reclaim your power from those who try to convince you otherwise. The emptiness they leave behind is not a void. It is space for growth, for healing, for new connections built on authenticity and respect. Do not underestimate the strength required to make this choice. It is not weakness to feel the pull of attachment, nor is it failure to have stayed too long. What defines your strength is the moment you decide that enough is enough, that you will no longer hand your energy to someone who only uses it against you. Every boundary you enforce, every step you take away from manipulation is a declaration of freedom. And the beautiful truth is this: life always rewards the brave. When you release what harms you, even if it hurts, you create room for what will help you rise. Genuine people will come into your life, but they cannot find space until you let go of the ones who drain you. Love will feel lighter, respect will feel natural, and peace will no longer be rare. It will become your new normal. So do not fear the separation. Do not fear the silence that follows distance. Those moments are not emptiness. They are the soil in which your true strength grows. Protecting yourself, Walking away, reclaiming your worth, these are not losses, they are victories. And the more you choose yourself, the stronger your voice becomes until one day it drowns out every lie that ever tried to convince you that you are not enough. There comes a moment when the silence after walking away no longer feels empty, but empowering. At first, it may feel strange to exist without the chaos, the manipulation, the endless tug of war for your peace. But as days pass, you begin to notice how much lighter you feel when no one is constantly pulling at your mind, your heart, your energy. The absence of their noise allows you to hear something far more important. The voice within you that had been buried under their control. That voice grows stronger with each boundary you honor, with each day you refuse to let their darkness shape your light. This is the stage where you rebuild not just your life, but your identity. For too long, others may have defined you by how much you tolerated, how much you gave, how little you demanded. But now you begin to see yourself differently. You are not the sum of their opinions, not the product of their manipulations, not the reflection of their inability to love. You are more. You always were more. And now you stand in the freedom to define yourself by truth, not distortion. The mind thrives on repetition, and the patterns you choose today will decide who you become tomorrow. If you repeat old habits of people-pleasing, self-sacrifice, and silence, you will slip back into the same cycles of pain. But if you repeat the habit of self-respect, of choosing peace over approval, of listening to your intuition over their deception, you will create a new identity that cannot be shaken. Every time you act in alignment with your worth, you carve a new path in your brain that makes strength your default instead of weakness. Science calls this neuroplasticity, the ability of your brain to rewire itself. With each conscious choice, you are literally reshaping the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you respond. And what grows from this new foundation is not just survival, but resilience. Resilience is more than bouncing back. It is rising stronger than before. It is the unshakable belief that no matter who tries to tear you down, you will not be destroyed. It is the calmness in your soul that whispers, I have faced worse, and I am still here. This resilience becomes your shield against future harm, where once you might have been swayed by manipulation, now you recognize it instantly. Where once you might have crumbled under guilt, now you stand firm in your truth. Where once you might have begged for validation, now you realize you already carry it within yourself. And here lies the greatest reward, freedom. Freedom not just from the grip of harmful people, but from the fear of losing them. Freedom to walk into new connections without carrying old wounds. Freedom to choose joy, to choose peace, to choose yourself without hesitation. This is not arrogance, it is not selfishness, it is self-honor, the foundation of all true strength. When you live from this place, you are no longer afraid of evil people because they no longer hold power over you. You can see them clearly, you can recognize their patterns, and you can walk away before they touch your spirit. And as you continue to rise, your life becomes proof that no amount of darkness can overcome a soul that has chosen the light. Freedom is powerful, but it is only the beginning. What matters now is how you use that freedom. Without direction, freedom can feel overwhelming, almost empty, as though you have escaped the prison, but are unsure where to walk next. This is why you must anchor yourself in purpose, in values that guide you forward, in a vision of the life you deserve to live. Purpose is the antidote to confusion, the compass that keeps you steady when old temptations try to pull you back. And when you align your freedom with purpose, you no longer drift, you rise with intention. The first step is deciding what you will no longer tolerate, not only from others, but from yourself. No more shrinking to fit into places where you don't belong. No more silencing your voice to avoid conflict. No more giving your energy to those who prove they cannot handle it with care. When you create these inner standards, you establish a new foundation of self-respect. And the more consistently you honor these standards, the stronger your identity becomes. This is not about rigid rules. It is about building a life where your dignity is non-negotiable. From here, you begin to cultivate habits that strengthen your spirit. Every day you choose to protect your peace, you are training your mind to seek environments that match your worth. Every time you say no when your heart demands it, you are reinforcing the truth that your boundaries are valid. Every moment you choose stillness over chaos, self-reflection over distraction, you are planting seeds of resilience that grow into unshakable confidence. Psychology shows us that small, repeated actions shape identity more than grand gestures. It is not the one-time choice to walk away that defines you. It is the daily choice to keep walking toward the life you deserve. And in that process, something even deeper begins to shift. You stop being reactive to the world around you. You no longer wait for approval, attention, or recognition to feel enough. Instead, you carry a calm certainty that you are already whole. This inner calm becomes your strength because when the storms come, and they always will, you remain grounded. You stop being easily manipulated because your peace is no longer dependent on others. You stop being easily shaken because your self-worth is no longer negotiable. This is the transformation that evil people fear the most. They thrive on control, on your need for them, on your silence and compliance. But once you rise into this place of inner authority, they lose all power. Their tactics fall flat, their manipulations bounce off, their shadows can no longer dim your light. And the best part, you don't even need to fight them anymore because your growth makes their presence irrelevant. You outgrow them by becoming someone they cannot touch. That is the reward for every moment of courage you choose. Not only freedom from the past, but the strength to step into a future that is no longer defined by fear. A future where you move with clarity, confidence, and dignity. A future where your heart remains open, but your boundaries remain strong. A future where no darkness can pull you back because you have already decided that your light will always be brighter. When you reach the place where your light cannot be dimmed, you begin to realize that protecting your energy is not just about survival, it is about creation. The energy you once wasted on defending yourself, on second guessing, on replaying hurtful words is now free. And that energy is powerful. It is the raw material of your dreams, the fuel for your growth, the spark that ignites transformation. Every ounce of energy you reclaim from toxic people becomes an investment in building the life you truly deserve. This is why choosing yourself is not selfish. It is strategic. It allows you to redirect your time, your focus, and your emotions into things that actually matter. You begin to see that your life is not meant to revolve around avoiding pain, but around creating meaning. You stop asking, how do I survive their behavior? And start asking, how do I thrive in my truth? That shift alone changes everything because it moves you from a position of defense to one of power. You are no longer reacting to darkness. You are building light. And the deeper you step into this mindset, the more you realize how much control you truly have. Control not over others, but over yourself. Control over your choices, your habits, your responses. Control over who you let in and who you release. This is the kind of control that cannot be taken away because it is rooted in discipline and awareness. Psychologists remind us that empowerment begins with recognizing where your influence lies, and it always lies within you. Once you harness this, you begin to set standards not only for relationships, but for every area of your life. You start demanding more of yourself, not in a way that is harsh, but in a way that is aligned with your worth. You commit to growth, to learning, to pushing beyond old limits. You hold yourself accountable to the person you are becoming, not the one you used to be. And every time you rise to meet those standards, you reinforce your new identity as someone who refuses to settle for less. This is how transformation becomes permanent, not through one bold choice, but through consistent alignment with your truth. And each time you choose alignment, you silence the echoes of those who once tried to convince you that you were powerless. You prove them wrong, not by fighting them, but by living in a way that makes their influence irrelevant. You no longer need to prove your strength. It radiates from you in the way you move, the way you speak, the way you protect your peace. And here is where the greatest beauty emerges. The freedom you gain is not only for you, it ripples outward. When you rise, you inspire others to rise. When you stand tall in your worth, you give silent permission for others to do the same. When you refuse to be controlled by fear, you show those around you that courage is possible. Your transformation becomes a light in the lives of others, and without even trying, you become a source of hope. This is the ultimate victory over darkness, not only reclaiming your life, but turning your survival into a message, your healing into an example, your resilience into a legacy. Because when you choose to protect your energy, you are not just ending a cycle, you are rewriting the story of what is possible. And nothing is more powerful than a life lived as proof that no amount of evil can destroy a heart that chooses to rise. The most important realization you come to is that your worth was never in question. It was never dependent on how others treated you, never defined by their inability to see your value, never diminished by their attempts to break you. Your worth has always been there, steady and unshaken, waiting for you to claim it. And when you finally do, it becomes the unbreakable foundation of everything you build. No insult, no rejection, no manipulation can touch it because you know the truth. Your value is not negotiable. This is where inner power is born, not in arrogance, but in certainty. The certainty that you deserve respect, love, and peace. The certainty that you are not required to prove yourself to anyone who cannot already see your light. The certainty that walking away is not loss, but liberation. When you live from this place, you stop chasing what was never meant for you. You stop clinging to those who drain you. You stop apologizing for protecting your heart. And in that shift, you find a peace that no one can take away. Psychology teaches us that the mind becomes what it repeatedly believes. If you have been surrounded by people who diminish you, it is natural to internalize their lies and carry them as truth. But the moment you begin to reframe those beliefs, you rewrite the script of your life. Every time you affirm your worth, every time you act in alignment with your dignity, you weaken the grip of those old lies. Slowly, your inner dialogue changes from doubt to confidence, from fear to courage, from I'm not enough to I am more than enough. This shift is not just emotional, it is biological. Your brain literally rewires itself to match the new truth you choose to believe. And with that rewiring comes freedom of thought. You are no longer trapped in cycles of rumination, replaying painful interactions, or questioning your decisions. Instead, your focus turns toward growth, toward opportunity, toward the future you are creating. You realize that every ounce of energy once stolen by someone else can now be used to invest in yourself. And as that investment grows, so does your life. You attract better relationships, healthier environments, and opportunities that align with your worth. Because like attracts like, and the moment you stand firmly in your value, the world begins to mirror it back to you. This is the transformation that changes everything. Not just surviving toxic people, not just escaping their grip, but rising so completely that their shadows cannot follow you. You live in a higher space now, one where their games no longer matter, where their words no longer sting, where their presence no longer dictates your peace. They become background noise to the life you are creating, a reminder of how far you have come, not a chain to hold you back. And as you continue to rise, you embody the truth that every person watching needs to hear. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by the strength you chose, the boundaries you honored, the courage you claimed. That is your truth now. That is your legacy. And when you live from this place, you become untouchable because nothing is more powerful than a soul that knows its worth and refuses to settle for anything less. When you stand firmly in your worth, a deeper shift begins to unfold. You no longer fear being alone. The absence of toxic people no longer feels like emptiness, but like clarity, like space to breathe, like a quiet strength that allows you to reconnect with yourself. Loneliness transforms into solitude, and solitude becomes sacred. In those moments of stillness, you rediscover your own voice, your own desires, your own dreams, unclouded by the noise of manipulation. This is where true self-connection is born, and it is one of the greatest forms of freedom you will ever experience. Solitude is not a weakness, it is a power. It teaches you to stand on your own without needing constant validation. It allows you to ground yourself in who you are, rather than who others expect you to be. Psychologists often speak of self-differentiation, the ability to maintain your identity even when surrounded by external pressure.